welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Sarah, and today we're going to be doing a 3-week postpartum update on myself and then a 3-week update on baby Julie. I have her right here with me, just cuddling up in a little blanket. She's trying to peek out and say hi. But this is going to be a very casual video. I just wanted to update you on how I'm doing and how she's doing at 3 weeks post-delivery. And she's actually been home for about a week. So it's not like we've been at home for 3 weeks, but it has been 3 weeks since a C-section. So starting with myself, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to a C-section. I guess I'll just go through like how the last 3 weeks have gone for me. So a couple days after the C-section, there's a lot of bleeding and it's similar to a vaginal delivery, but at this point I thought that the bleeding would be done because I feel like it was done with my son by now, but I'm still definitely bleeding on and off. I'll have like a day where I don't bleed at all and then I'll like bleed a ton the next day, so it's like kind of hard to keep track of and like understand what's happening, but definitely still bleeding on and off. The first couple days after, definitely the worst, but after the first couple days it's been very mild, like the whole like 2.5 weeks after that. It's been like completely manageable with just like pretty much a normal pad that you would use for a normal period. So it's been relatively mild. In terms of the cramping postpartum, because regardless of a C-section or a vaginal delivery, you're going to have some type of cramping in your uterus from the uterus trying to go back down to a normal size, and it typically happens when you're breastfeeding or pumping or something like that. It's like your body's way of just kind of going back to normal. With my son, that was actually really painful and I didn't really expect it. I have been using some drops that help with the postpartum cramping. I can link those down below because they actually really helped, I think. I took a couple drops every time I went to pump or breastfeed, and you could still feel the cramps a little bit, but it was so mild that honestly, like, it was amazing. Like, I didn't even really notice them if I wasn't thinking about it. So definitely recommend, I forget the name of them right now, but I'll link them below. But they're just drops that you put in water and you just drink. You can put it in like a really small amount of water, just chug it real fast, and then it helps almost immediately with the cramping. So that was really successful for me this time around. In terms of the actual like incision pain and stomach pain, that is pretty rough. I did take some pain medication like the first, I think, week and a half, maybe 2 weeks postpartum. I was taking ibuprofen for a while, and then I was taking Percocet for I think like a week postpartum. And so those two combined made it manageable, but I feel like the Percocet just made me feel a little bit weird and like not myself. So I stopped taking that, and then I eventually stopped taking the ibuprofen too. So every time I get up, get out of bed, like have to move quickly in general, I still have stomach pain. And it just takes a long time to go away. I think for a vaginal delivery, by 3 weeks postpartum, you're pretty much back to your normal self. I mean, there's still some things that don't go back to normal, but in terms of like the pain when you're like walking around, I feel like that probably is mostly gone by now. But with a C-section, it can take up to the full like 6 weeks to not have that pain. And I have this like tingling sensation like from the belly button down to my incision, and that's because of, you know, cutting open multiple layers. And like I think it's like the muscle, or I don't know exactly what you cut that makes that happen, but it almost feels like a bad sunburn kind of when you touch your skin from like the belly button to my incision. It's really sensitive, and that doesn't go away for even longer than the 6 weeks. I think it probably lasts for a few months. So definitely still have that pain, and definitely still hurts to move around, to stand up. It's a lot less than it was like the first week, but it's definitely noticeable, and it's just hard. Like if I need to jump up and grab my toddler for something, it's still pretty painful. One other thing that has been pretty painful for me, that I don't know if I had this with my son, but I just feel like my back is getting really sore all the time. And I know it's from like holding a baby all the time, and my boobs are bigger because I have milk, and so I just feel like there's a lot more weight, and I'm just like arched over a lot. Maybe it's like from pumping, breastfeeding, holding the baby, changing the baby's diaper, but I just feel like I have a lot of back pain, and it's I don't know if I had that last time. I don't know if that's like a pretty common thing, but I didn't really expect that. Jumping into breastfeeding, I have not given up hope on breastfeeding yet, but if this goes anything like it did with my son, I'm gonna probably just be exclusively pumping for a few months until that's not really an option anymore, because my milk supply when I'm pumping doesn't last very long. It goes away pretty quickly, and so then if I'm pumping like less than half of what she needs throughout the day, I kind of just slowly like stop pumping, because after a few months, I feel like in my mind at least, it's fine to transition to formula. I'm really worried about the first couple months because I know that they're very vulnerable, and so having breast milk is just really, really valuable to them. So if I can do it the first couple months, I definitely want to as much as I can. But she actually is pretty good at breastfeeding when everything kind of works out. My nipples are not ideal for breastfeeding, so she kind of struggles a little bit at the beginning to get a good latch. And honestly, I don't know if she ever really does get a great latch, because they're kind of flat, not very long. So it's hard for her to get a good latch, which that makes it more painful. And then also because I'm just mostly pumping, I feel like I don't have like a strong letdown. I don't have a huge supply, so I don't think she gets a ton when she breastfeeds, at least not like as much as she does when she just drinks a bottle. We give her like 90 to like 110 milliliters right now. So that's like 3.5 ounces. And I don't know if she's getting that much when she breastfeeds. I don't think she is. So it's kind of like every once in a while I'll breastfeed and then we'll do a couple bottles. I think what I'm gonna do going forward, because I know that she is really good at breastfeeding, like she definitely has an interest and she just like goes for it. So I think she has the potential. What I'm thinking is I'll try most feeds to do breastfeeding, and then like the one right before bed and the one like in the middle of the night, we'll do a full bottle, make sure she gets plenty of milk so she sleeps well at night. But then maybe some of the other feeds we'll just try breastfeeding and see how it goes. I know that the more we breastfeed, the more like my breasts are going to respond to that and probably start having a bigger supply, I'm hoping. But I don't know, I could do a whole other video on that, because there's a lot of things you can do to try to increase your milk supply, and I'm trying pretty much everything I can think of. And I would say like from like 1 week to 2 weeks postpartum, I was pumping pretty good amount, and it was definitely more than what she's drinking. But now this last week she's increased a lot what she's drinking, and then for some reason my supply decreased at the same time, so now I'm not really pumping enough. I'm kind of losing that extra that I built up, and I do have a couple days worth in the freezer, but at this rate that's gonna go away pretty quickly, so we'll see. But I'm just really not stressing out about it this time around. If I have to transition to formula at some point, then that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm not gonna, you know, completely overwhelm myself with the thought of pumping, you know, crazy amounts of times throughout the day. I'm gonna pump pretty much as she's eating, and if I can't keep up, then I can't keep up. And if breastfeeding goes well and she starts really taking off on that, then that will change a lot of things, but we'll see. That's kind of where we are right now, and that's kind of how it went with my son too, so not super surprised by that. I'm not like brokenhearted, but at the same time I would love to be able to exclusively give her breast milk for like the first 6 months to a year of her life if I could, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Talking about how she is doing at 3 weeks, we talked already about how much she's eating. She eats pretty consistently, like every 3 hours during the day, and then at night she has been going anywhere from 4 to 5 hours. So we'll feed her, let's say at 8 o'clock, and she could go till 1 and wake up, do a feed. We feed her, you know, 100 milliliters in a bottle, and then she could go another 5 hours and go till 6. And that's kind of what she's done the last couple nights. So that has been a big improvement, because the first few nights we had her home, she was doing every 3 hours, kind of got to like every 4, and then the past few nights have been every 5. So that is really awesome, because it feels like to us then she's only waking up once throughout the night, because just like that 1 a.m. feeding, and then when she does a 6 a.m. we're kind of up for the day at that point. She was born at 6 pounds 5 ounces, and right now I would say she is somewhere around like maybe 6 pounds 13 or 14 ounces. She's getting close to that 7 pound mark. She has been gaining a lot of weight at home this last week. We did have a doctor's appointment and she was 6 pounds 10 ounces, and that was like early on last week, so a few days after we brought her home. So she's definitely chunking up pretty good, pretty quickly. And she was born at 18 and a half inches, and the doctor said when we went to her appointment that she was like almost 20 inches at like 2 weeks. She had already gained like 1.5 inches, so that's crazy too. I can't believe that. But she is really growing well, and I'm not really concerned about that at this point anymore, because she definitely looks chunky in her face now, so you can tell that she's really healthy. In terms of like gas or colic or just like fussiness and problems like that, she definitely seems to have some gas, and you can see that she's uncomfortable at times, but it's never something that like makes her cry for a while. It's mostly just makes her like look uncomfortable and squirm around a little bit. So we try to help her get that out the best that we can. Usually if I just keep giving her a pacifier and like rocking her or just kind of talking to her, she can get over it pretty quickly. She doesn't cry much, honestly, but those times when the gas is really bad, she can be up for a good hour just kind of looking uncomfortable and just struggling with that. So that's hard when it's in the middle of the night, that we have to stay up and just kind of try to soothe her the best we can. But honestly, I feel like that is like a very minor problem in the grand scheme of fussiness with babies. So I feel pretty lucky that she doesn't have many problems with that. Yeah, girlfriend. She does spit up every once in a while, but it's never a ton. So it's never like I feel like she's spitting up as much as she's taking in. It's like little tiny bits every once in a while. So I'm not too concerned about that either. And we have taken her out a few places. We've gone to a few parks. Went to one of my doctor's appointments with her, taken her out a few places, and she just sleeps through everything, doesn't have a care in the world. So she does really great. I mean, I know newborns typically do. When you take them out, they just sleep through everything, but it has been very nice just being able to throw her in the car and take her with us, and we can just focus on her brother, and she's just chilling, happy, content. One last thing that I want to mention for me is the whole weight gain, weight loss situation. I think the last time I filled you guys in, I had gained about 25 pounds at like 37 weeks with my pregnancy. So it was less than I had with my son. I thought a lot of that was water weight, but I wasn't super swollen towards the end. I kind of like went up and down. I fluctuated a lot with the swelling. So I was just kind of like unsure how I was gonna lose the weight, because with my son I was so swollen, it was obvious that it was like 20 pounds of water weight from swelling. Well, this time, because I had postpartum preeclampsia, which I talked about a lot in my like C-section delivery update. That was my last video that I posted. So I can put that in the cards here, but definitely go check that video out if you want a little bit more information on my postpartum preeclampsia. But because I had that, I was really swollen after delivery, and so it was funny, I went home like 3 or 4 days postpartum and I weighed myself, and I weighed the same that I did like the day before I had her. Like literally they took her out and my placenta and I still weighed the same, because that's how much water weight I had gained the couple days after having her. So that was very scary for me, because I knew that something was definitely not right for me to like literally have lost no weight having a baby. So I kind of just, I had to go in and deal with the whole postpartum preeclampsia thing. But in terms of the water weight and everything, I just figured that it would all go away eventually, and there wasn't much that I could do to help that process besides going into the hospital and getting the magnesium and everything. But eventually it did all go away. I think I was about almost 2 weeks postpartum when I really felt like all of the swelling is definitely gone now. And so that's about the point where I weighed myself, and I think I was like 4 or 5 pounds away from being at my pre-pregnancy weight. And that number made a lot more sense to me after like losing all the swelling and everything. And so then after a few more days of breastfeeding and pumping and weighing myself, I weigh myself every morning, so I kind of saw that it was slowly going down over time. And then a few days ago I did notice that I was back to my pre-pregnancy weight, and I do fluctuate a lot because of the breastfeeding and everything. So sometimes I'm a little bit over that, sometimes a little bit under that, but I definitely am in the ballpark of my pre-pregnancy weight now, which is very nice to know. And it's funny because you could be at your pre-pregnancy weight, but your body is completely different. My stomach is obviously a lot larger than it was, because that hasn't all fully gone down to like a normal size. And then my boobs are way bigger than they were before. So I feel in that area, like my mid area, I feel huge. But then in like my face and my arms and my legs, I feel pretty much normal, maybe even a little bit smaller than normal. So it's just so weird that like my body feels so different, but then I'm at the same weight that it was. Just distributed differently, I guess. I don't know. But I think that is a pretty comprehensive update on us 3 weeks postpartum. I'll definitely end with a little video of Julie up close, because I just feel like since this is partially about her, we should definitely have some close-ups of her in the video. But if you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments below if there's something that I didn't touch on that you're wondering about. And then I do plan on doing another update on at least myself, maybe her too. I'll probably start doing her updates like when she's 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. But for me, I'll do another postpartum update when I'm 6 weeks postpartum, after I go to my 6-week postpartum doctor's appointment. And I should mention, I guess when I went to my last postpartum appointment, my incision does look like it healed well. So at this point, nothing wrong with the incision, which is always nice to hear. I did talk about in my C-section delivery story that I got a Pico dressing. So if you are curious about a Pico, then go watch that video as well. But essentially it's like a type of dressing that has a battery pack that you keep on for a week, and it helps with the healing process of your incision. So I did have that, and that all went well for me. I do recommend that if anyone offers that to you. But I think I will end the video here. Thank you guys for watching, and if you are not subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button if you want to see more postpartum updates, baby updates, videos on life with a toddler and a newborn, and things like that. I also do just like cleaning videos and just like motherhood lifestyle type videos that are more general too. So if that sounds interesting, please consider joining my family here and like this video if you enjoyed it. And like I said, we'll end with a little clip of Julie, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Is there a place with sun all year round and pina coladas with pretty faces and sand on the ground? I wanna stop this ongoing train before I lose my mind and go insane.